am also known in this community sometimes as Leggy Meggy, from, you know, burlesque type worlds is where that was born from.
The one and only.
The one and only. And I'm from Utah, and I teach here, and I travel a lot as far as like dance education goes. So if you're looking for like influences, I get influences from all over the world. And yeah, I just love it here. I love being so close to nature, and it, you know, it used to be there was no traffic.
It's getting popular. Mm-hmm. Utah.
I know, it's because it's so pretty.
Yeah, it is.
I love, I study belly dance and yoga and sensual dance or burlesque. So sensual movement, and when I say sensual, like not only do I say like some people think like sexual, sensual to me is that and so much more. It's a lot richer. Playing and you're tuning into your senses. And also if you're performing, you're tuning into like that communication between you and your audience, that if you are in your senses, our brains, our human brains, like will react to that and actually have a sensory experience with you. And so when I say sensual movement, I mean like all of the ooey gooey bits of like getting into like the feels of why we want to do this movement at all, like what it does for you and others, and community building, and I could go on for days. I love the modality and the technique of belly dance, and I love the culture, and I love the music, and I love the community, and it also has that space to be a very, I think one of the things that why people think that belly dance is a sensual art form, or they're like, oh, it's like stripping. Pole dancers get that too. But you're like, the reason why belly dance seems so much more intimate than other forms of dance is if you watch where our actual like movement comes from. Whereas if you watch a ballet dancer, their actual movement stems from a very external place of placing your body in space, where a lot of the muscular movement is from internal to external. Like if you're thinking of undulating or rolling, and it's very circular in movements, and so like our actual physical body is moving inward to outward, so it feels like we're inviting that like intimacy of that relationship between like who we're dancing with or for or whatever else. It's a very personal experience, I think, and a lot of fun technique.
Indeed.
And a lot of booty shaking. One of the things I would say is a challenge to me is, and it's always on my mind, of being able to do what I love to do for the longest amount of time, which is like, I'm also a yoga instructor here at Moxy and elsewhere, but like conditioning our bodies to do movement safely. And I found as I age, or if I get injuries and things like that, I feel like my movement condensed to keep me safe until I can like strengthen and broaden. And so I think one of the things that I've been challenged with lately is I had a back injury, and so it keeps every once in a while like tugging out and trying to like play that delicate role of like, okay, you can't always do all the things immediately, and you have to slowly get back into it, and I'm the worst. I want to do everything all the time. And so, yeah, that's been a big challenge for me to kind of like take it back down a notch, or especially in this day and age where like, you know, I used to be able to teach a class, and I can teach a yoga class. I taught a yoga class with a broken toe, because you walk around and I'm watching my students and I'm keeping them safe and I'm giving them the cues to do all the things. And nowadays you have to do everything all the time. So like if I have a broken toe, I have to cancel class instead of being able to be like, oh, well, I'm just gonna not do as much with you. So like I found that very challenging, because we're all on video now and people expect you to do the whole thing. So I was like, well, I have to also like, I practice what I preach. So like if I tell you to come into your class and keep yourself safe and tune into how your body is feeling today, I have to do the same for me if I'm going to be actually doing the whole practice with you. And sometimes my bod's not, I'm older now. So sometimes I'm like, well, threw my back out this morning, so we'll be doing different things. I don't know, it's an interesting balance. The challenges are pretty much just like, you know, keeping my body safe as I move forward and aging, and that's a thing. But I do like that attention to detail, which is why I like teaching the classes that are my Wednesday class that's half yoga and half belly dance, is because the beginning, it's like doing a warm-up for belly dance anyways. So we're warming our bodies up, but we're cultivating mindfulness. And then when you get into stuff, because like in all of my yoga teacher trainings that I have ever taken, so much of it, I'm sitting in the background being like, that applies to belly dance, that applies to belly dance, that applies to belly dance. Because if you think of, not only in just the movement part of it, in the mindful part of being able to like come in and do any of these modalities and be challenged with that and sit with it. And like so many girls in dance classes or pole classes and stuff, they come in and they're like, I don't look like that, or they're looking around and they're like, you know, they get really into their heads of like, I'm not strong enough, I'm not this enough, I'm not whatever. And they stop enjoying their experience. They stop being able to challenge themselves in healthy ways and use growth mindset. And so being able to start your class and tune into that specifically and be mindful with your movement, but be mindful with your experience, I think is really important. And I think that that will make your experience of learning better. And if you are working on your like fine-tuning your performance, I think that being able to stay embodied while you're performing is key. So being able to calm everything down, whether or not you're performing for a large audience, a small audience, or just, you know, your partner or whatever you want to do, or if you're competing, being able to stay within what you are feeling in that moment and projecting that and being in tune with people around you changes your entire experience. It makes it or breaks it on whether or not you actually stick with something, I feel like sometimes. Is like the transformative, like emotional, mental, psychological, like and physical aspect of doing any of these artistic modalities that require our bodies and our hearts and our minds to be intertwined in the learning experience. And I love performance for that aspect also. So like I preach it in my burlesque classes where like it's a conversation, and being able to like, I don't know, being able to be honest and hold that space of like you on stage and then getting that honest feedback from people that are around you that like are in the audience space is absolutely life-changing for a lot of people because we get so in our heads about our own things. But I think all of the things that I've mentioned where it's like working with mindfulness of movement, working with like building a technique and forming like one of the things that I was focusing on this week is quality time versus quantity time. So being able to spend quality time with yourself instead of just like going through the motions all the time, and actually like being centered, and then using that as this skill building, and then using that to communicate with others. Like this inside the walls of Moxy Movement is like a laboratory of like how to live your best life in all aspects of your life. It's the same way that you can take your like yoga teachings or your practices and that you practice them on your mat in this safe space where you're putting, you know, your central nervous system into chaotic positions and like toying with that. But then you use that to go out into the world. I think performance art is that 100%. So I think the magic is that it allows us to become our best selves. And along the way, you get to like do handstands and wear sparkly outfits and have a bunch of fun friends. Like, I don't understand why everybody doesn't do this. I think mine is reconnecting with people and starting up a couple more classes because I feel like a lot of the past year, a lot of us have felt very like introspective. And trying to figure out what the best pathway is. And so the next couple of goals for me personally is literally just like getting back I've not stopped moving, but I've stopped being in like public-y spaces or like big movement. So a lot of us have been in our homes and we're feeling a little bit smaller, which is actually still perfect for belly dance because that's where the roots of it came from. Gonna geek out again. But yeah, coming into getting bigger in movement again will be really nice, getting in bigger spaces and reconnecting with like person-to-person community. So safely. With masks on.
Of course.
I would say imparting wisdom, if you are on the fence and these are new things that you haven't tried, give it a chance. Don't just come to one class, come to like 5. Try something and give yourself permission to feel silly and get out of your comfort zone is like the kitschy way to say it, but to feel uncomfortable, to push your own boundaries, but it's in that little bit of uncomfortableness where you're reaching that the biggest growth happens. And one of my favorite instructors always said, if you want it to feel different, or if you want it to look different, it has to feel different. And that goes for fine-tuning movement, but just in real everyday life. Like if you're really looking for something in your life or yourself, you need to get unstuck or you need something to feel different, this is the way to do it. Like try something new and actually give yourself a chance to see how it can start to change, because the change might be gradual. Like you might come to your first class and absolutely fall in love. Most of the time we all come to our first class and feel like, oh my gosh, I did, the bare minimum that everyone else in the room was doing. That's okay. We all started there and you will be amazed at how quickly you progress. But you gotta stick with it. At least give it like a good shot. Don't just like stick your toe in and then leave and be like, nope, couldn't do it. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't give up so easy.